Hello, welcome everyone. Excited to be here at OpenSearchCon Europe. So we came to Europe for the first time last year, and I'm so excited to be back for the keynote this year. This region of the world has so many community members, so I'm excited to see a lot of familiar faces, and excited to see some newcomers as well. My name is Dagney Braun. I'm a senior manager of product at AWS, working on the OpenSearch project. I've been on the team for the last 3 years now, and the experience has been like no other. I'm here today to talk about the large and growing OpenSearch community and our new membership in the Linux Foundation, as well as the wave of innovation that this community has seen over the last 12 months. This project has truly been a worldwide sensation and a community effort, so I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. First of all, I'd like to give a huge shout out to our silver sponsor, NetApp InstaCluster. Thanks so much. Yeah. And I'd also like to thank our bronze sponsors, Eliatra, CCOM, Pulse, and Siglens. Let's give a round of applause for the sponsors, yeah. We truly wouldn't be here without their support, so thank you so much. Be sure to stop by our solutions showcase, which you may have had an opportunity to see so far. It'll be up all day today and tomorrow. I also want to remind everyone we have an event code of conduct that everyone who is attending has agreed to. In short, everyone should feel welcome and included and treated with respect. So if you run into any issues, feel free to stop by registration and let them know. You can scan this QR code to check out our full schedule. Note that that's also on the back of your badge, as well as, of course, most importantly, the Wi-Fi details are on the back of your badge as well. And we hope you share your experience over the next few days on our social channels. So here's our handles, and please tag any posts with hashtag OpenSearchCon. And then most importantly, our program wraps up today, and then we'll have the search party. So it's a great opportunity to connect with attendees, speakers, and sponsors, and it'll be a lot of fun. So I look forward to seeing everybody there. Now, I mentioned worldwide, so I really want to back that up with some data. As proof of how widespread interest has become, here are the locations of our project maintainers across the world from dozens of organizations. This pool of maintainers has been expanding to more and more locations and companies since the inception of the project, which I think really demonstrates the health of the project and underscores the importance of having a diverse technical opinions from several companies. Keeping with this worldwide trend, here are the 61 cities in 21 different countries where our solution providers are headquartered. We've onboarded over 90 solution providers since launch, and you can find a listing of these solution providers on the opensearch.org website, and you can filter down to those in your region. Our provider network is a mix of consultants, managed service providers, software vendors, and the like. So make sure you take a look if you're interested in having someone help manage your search environment for you. And thank you to all of our providers for being with us on this journey. To demonstrate the active community discussions going on worldwide, here are the locations of our 19 active user groups. Nearly all of them have had more than one meeting, which really speaks to the commitment of some of our solutions providers, who are oftentimes the folks that are putting on these meetups. And then here are the worldwide events that OpenSearch is attending in 2025. Going to trade shows to represent the project has made us thousands of project friends over the years. And then we have OpenSearchCon and other industry events create a more tightly woven community of participants and also draw in project newcomers on a regular basis. So while I have a captive audience, I'd like to call out the other OpenSearchCon events happening in 2025. We've got one in India in 6 weeks, and then one in San Jose, California for our North American show in late September. And we'll also be putting on smaller road shows in Korea and Japan, as there's significant project interest in these locales as well. And lastly, here's where the 170 of you came from. Looks like the person who covered the most distance to get here is from Shanghai, China. Thanks for coming. And then this This show in Europe is also a great example of the growth we've seen. We have about 30% more people in attendance last year, and a lot more people were interested in presenting as well. So if you didn't get a speaking slot, it's probably because we saw 2.3 times as many submissions as we saw last year, which is the most submissions we've seen of any OpenSearch Con. So really exciting, and we really appreciate everybody's interest in presenting and can't wait to continue to see your submissions. Here's a snapshot of the 12 months leading up to today. We've seen consistent growth across the board in a broad range of categories: developer meetups, year-over-year downloads, collaboration avenues, and contributing organizations. One of the callouts here that impressed me was that over 225 different companies have contributed to OpenSearch, which is really not common of an open source project. The acceleration in downloads also exceeded expectations, especially in the last 7 months. So let's think about what happened 7 months ago. It might have been the most exciting thing to happen to the project all year, or I think since the inception of the project, which was last September, the OpenSearch Software Foundation was found as a member of the Linux Foundation. This was a critical milestone in the project to really propel us into the next phase of growth, and reinforces some of the founding principles of the project, that this is for the community and by the community, which was the intended outcome all along: to foster open collaboration in search, analytics, and observability. And we've been really excited with the results we've seen and the dozens of companies who become members relatively quickly, with more members getting added regularly. Organizations like Uber, SAP, NetApp, and more have already joined and are helping to steward the future of the OpenSearch project. This includes 4 new members we just onboarded. So thanks to ByteDance, DataStax, CCOM, and DTEX for joining the foundation. As we move forward, we expect membership will continue to grow as more organizations adopt this platform and build on it. So to all our member companies who are here, thanks for coming to represent. Next, we'll look at a snapshot of where we are now with the foundation. So as I mentioned, we have 16 members and growing. The foundation has an active governing board and a technical steering committee comprised of 11 different organizations. Both the board and the TFC meet regularly to steer the foundation activities. And as we continue forward, we'll keep working with the Linux Foundation to introduce training and certification programs, an ambassador program for our community members, as well as make sure we're making project information as accessible as possible on a regular basis. And here's our footprint on the project since launch. The builders and community created it, and it represents a strong foundation, one which we're excited to be a part of. This is all thanks to the community, which powers OpenSearch through contributions. With that top of mind, I'd like to welcome our first guest speaker to the stage. This person's organization, Eliatra, went all in on OpenSearch very early, and they're still avid contributors to the project. Eliatra provides enterprise solutions for OpenSearch, including support with guaranteed SLAs, professional services, and custom development. So here to talk about their long tenure as contributors and builders and how they're giving back, please welcome Jochen Kressin to the stage.
Thanks, Dagney. So first of all, it's wonderful to be here in Amsterdam, especially in a room full of people that actually know when I talk about cluster health, I'm not referring to workouts, nutrition, and meditation. So in case you don't know me, I'm in the industry for about 25 years now, with a strong focus on distributed systems, on security, and obviously search. So my journey started in around 2003. Yes, I'm already that old, where I was using first time Lucene in customer projects. I then switched over to Solar. From Solar, I switched over to Elasticsearch, and now I found my permanent new loving home called OpenSearch. So with that background, when OpenSearch materialized or was started, for us it was pretty clear that we not only wanted to use Elasticsearch, not only wanted to contribute Elasticsearch, but that for us it was also a big business opportunity. So we founded a company called Eliatra, and Eliatra is focused only on one thing, and that is OpenSearch. So when talking about open source project, and I don't want to overstretch this issue, that if you're participating in an open source project, the first thing is to contribute code. And that is absolutely true, but today I want to view this project on both angles. First of all, how you can actually contribute to the project called OpenSearch, but on the other hand, how you can get back from OpenSearch. So push code, pull business, what's the ROI, return on investment of contributions? So if we talk about open source in general, the cliche, and like I said, I don't want to overstretch it, is that you have your lone nerd sitting in the basement around empty pizza boxes, cranking out code in the middle of until the middle of the night. And that may be true like 2-3 decades ago, but things have evolved, right? So open source is now a very professional and powerful ecosystem, and contributing to open source is more accessible than ever. So let's talk about the various ways that you can contribute. So the first is, of course, code contributions. This is still one of the most important things for any open source project, because without code contributions, of course, the open source project would be probably just dead. So we are actually focusing on the OpenSearch security plugin. That's where we contribute most of the code. We also contribute a little bit of code in PPL and for the Kubernetes operator. But for the security, we have over 50 PRs over the last couple of years, ranging from small bug fixes, feature enhancements, and last year we invested a lot in performance optimization, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, will actually make it to the next OpenSearch 3.0 release. So with 3.0, you should see a big improvement in performance around the area of security. But you don't need to be a rockstar developer to contribute code to the OpenSearch project. There's another area, maybe with each and every open source project, which is based on code, but pretty straightforward and very easy to participate in. Any guess? That comes later. Unit tests. Yeah. So, increasing the test coverage for any project is always a good thing to ensure the stability and quality of the project. And unit tests are pretty much straightforward. It just takes maybe a couple of lines of code, writing a new test, submitting it, contributing it to the project, and voila, you already increased the test coverage by another %. And with over 100 repositories now for the OpenSearch project, you can actually also pick and choose your language of choice. If you're a Java person, well, you can contribute to the OpenSearch core project and the plugins that come with it. Are you more of a front-end person? Are you enjoying TypeScript, React, Node.js? Okay, OpenSearch Dashboard is your project of choice. Enjoy Go and think Go is the coolest kid on the block? Well, there's the OpenSearch operator where you can contribute your Go code too. And of course, we have a lot of client libraries in many different languages. So once you start contributing, you probably also want to level up your game at some point. And the next step would actually be to become a maintainer. A maintainer actually puts you in the front seat of the project. And maintainer means that you're not only reviewing code, merging PRs, but you're basically shaping and driving the future and the direction of the repository where you are a maintainer. So for us, we have maintainer positions in the security and in the Kubernetes operator repository. And I can just tell you it's a pretty rewarding and nice experience. How to become a maintainer? Well, first of all, if you have some contributions, then you can just apply for a maintainer position, and the existing maintainers then vote on your application. And like I said, there are over 100 repositories, so there are many seats and positions still open. Documentation, yeah. So, you know what's even more complicated than implementing a distributed and highly scalable search engine? Convincing the developers to document it. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, let's be honest, documentation is, it's chronically understaffed and sometimes even overlooked, but it's so important because this is the first thing that a new user actually comes in contact with, right? And we all want to ensure that new users have a happy first user experience. So for us, I think it was more than over 140 PRs that we submitted, and also for the documentation that ranged from small typos, a little bit I don't know, clarification, up to just contributing whole chapters, new chapters to the documentation. But this is really an area of the project where help is highly appreciated, because we all know documentation. Well, there are technical writers, they might enjoy it, but us developers probably not so. Okay, so with the documentation, you help other people getting on speed with OpenSearch. And the next area that I want to talk about is the community forum. So an open source project is, of course, only as good as its community. And the community forum is the place where you can ask questions, obviously, and get answers. But more importantly, it's a place where you can actually share your experience and your solutions. So if you hit a roadblock, if you stumble upon an issue with OpenSearch, if you solved it, congratulations, but please don't celebrate it just alone in your room. Make the world a better place and share your findings on the OpenSearch community forum, because chances are very high that other folks may stumble across the same issue than you. So we're pretty active in the forum. I think we're now hitting the 4K mark with our posts. And I can just say it's very satisfying because what you're actually doing is you're helping out your fellow OpenSearch users. And that's very rewarding and satisfying. Now, I've talked a lot about what I would call virtual contributions, but wouldn't it be great if you could be a member of a community in the real world? Means face-to-face. So that's where the OpenSearch user groups come into play. And as Dagney already pointed out, there are a lot of user groups taking place all over the world. So they're usually announced on Meetup. So chances are very high that one is taking place in your vicinity. And the user group game has, I would say, 3 different levels. So level 1 is just go there and attend a user group. Listen to the talks, mingle and chat with other OpenSearch users. And the second level would be go there, but give a presentation. And just keep in mind, the user groups are from users for users, right? So you don't need to be a super expert in OpenSearch to give a useful and insightful presentation. For us, we're running user groups in Berlin, in Munich, in Dublin, and in London. And we had all sorts of talks, starting with a basic OpenSearch security setup all the way to advanced deployments on Kubernetes. So you could start with a very easy topic. You could just talk about a use case that you implemented with OpenSearch. So yeah, no need to be a super expert to give a useful talk. And level 3, this is the boss level, is maybe you want to organize a meetup. And organizing a meetup is basically like organizing a high school party. You need a place, you need some food and drinks and like-minded people. And yeah, that's it. And just talking out of experience, there was this one incident where it was the first one in Munich. It was really like a high school party, but a high school party where you invite 40 people and only 3 show up. So that happens, but that didn't discourage us. And now we have a constant stream of about 25 to 30 attendees for each meetup that we do. And if you have been talking at a meetup, why not talk at a conference like this one here? And again, it doesn't need to be a super technical topic to be interesting for others. And We've been talking at various open search conferences, again, ranging from introduction topics all the way over AI, vector search, Kubernetes, and stuff like that. And, sorry, shameless plug. So, of course, we also have a talk at this conference. So my colleague Niels, together with Craig Perkins from AWS, will talk about the security monitoring of OpenSearch with OpenSearch in this room tomorrow at 2:10. So, yeah, check it out. Okay, and last but not least, if you're a business, you're probably also interested in learning a bit more about the OpenSearch Software Foundation. And the foundation is, well, as the name implies, as open as the OpenSearch code. So you can just apply and have even more influence on the course of this project. Okay, so far I've talked a lot about giving, like contributing, but then you ask, okay, where's the getting something out of it part? Well, where's the actual return of investment of my contributions? So, as the saying goes, open source on its own is not a business model, but you can build a business model on top of it. And that's exactly what we did with Eliatra. And let me just show you how we did that. Well, first of all, as with any project and with any product, the best way to be successful in the market is to actually solve a problem in the market. So we started with the very, very obvious, support and professional services. So if you run an open source software in production for mission critical systems, you probably want to have a partner where you can get support, professional services, help with the setup, help with implementing your use cases. So that's kind of the starting point. But we soon realized that, oh, and by the way, we started with a usual 8x5 European business hours offering. We soon realized that this is basically not enough. And then we leveled up our game and can now offer 24/7 support, which is like being a first responder for OpenSearch. So if your cluster is caught on fire in the middle of the night, who are you going to call? Well, probably not Ghostbusters, probably your support, trusted support company. So that was kind of the first step. Then the second step was, well, it is an open source project. So, and as with every software, you have, of course, bugs. You have security issues. Maybe you have CVEs that needs to be addressed and fixed. So what can you do? Well, of course, you can go on GitHub. You can file an issue and, well, hope for the best. So someone implements it, and it gets accepted, PRs get merged, and then the fix makes it in some next release. For some companies, this is, of course, not enough. So we decided to go with the, what I always call kind of a Red Hat model. So we actually offer our own distro of OpenSearch, which just enables us to fix issues rapidly, fix CVE and security stuff rapidly, build it, test it on our own CI/CD, ship it to the customer, and then in the end, of course, contribute everything back to the community so the fixes can also make it in the official release of OpenSearch. And since we're in the European Union, we are all affected. Some might say we're even plagued by a lot of rules and regulations by the European Union. Things like the Cyber Resilience Act or NIST or the European Union AI Act. And data sovereignty is a very, very big issue. So there's a lot of discussion where you should host your data, discussion about hyperscalers, et cetera, et cetera. So we wanted to solve this issue by offering our own managed OpenSearch solution, which is hosted out of Germany at the moment, and of course is compliant with all the strict European compliance regulations. And last, why not build a complete new product on top of OpenSearch? Because if you think about it, OpenSearch can also be seen as a software platform. So you have a search engine, you have storage, you have a REST API, you have security, you have audit logging. It scales, indefinitely. We all know that. So why not take that and build a complete new product on top of it? And that's what we did with a product called Cortex Axiom. And this actually addresses exactly the European Union AI Act. So we took OpenSearch as a basis and built a fully local and secure AI solution, which you can run on-premise or hosted in Europe. And there you can actually work with all the most sensitive data in your company. Data never leaves the system. It's always under your control, and of course follows the strict rules and regulations of the European Union AI Act. And how we did that? Well, again, we based everything on OpenSearch, and we made use of the very cool AI and vector features in OpenSearch. So we used the vector storage, the KNN search, RAG, the session memory, and the security and audit logging features of OpenSearch. And that will be out in probably Q3 this year. So to sum it up, contribution starts small. It can be one tiny bug fix, can be one edit in the documentation, can be one newly added test case, and then you're automatically part of something bigger. Or as Galadriel said it so nice in Lord of the Rings, even the smallest contribution can change the course of the future. So I hope I was able to motivate you to engage with the project even more, start contributing, looking into ways to contribute. And I also want to take the chance to give a big shout out to Chris Friedane, community manager at the OpenSearch project. He was a tremendous help for us to drive things forward. So thanks very much, Chris. He has a talk on Thursday as well, so please make sure to check it out. And to sum it up, all of that was only possible because of the cool new innovations that we saw in the OpenSearch project over the course of the last few years. And with that, I give back to Dagney, which will tell us about the new innovations and new features that we can expect in the next releases. Thanks very much for your attention.
Good job. Thanks, Jochen, for sharing your insights and experience. So OpenSearch enables just about any type of lexical and or AI-driven search use case, and then also has log analytics, so observability and security analytics use cases. I'm just curious in the room, who here uses OpenSearch for search or vector search? Maybe half-ish. And then who uses OpenSearch for log analytics use cases, so observability or security analytics? Somehow about a third, so curious to talk to who the other group. But so when generative AI has exploded as a key priority across nearly all industries in the last few years, it changed how developers built search applications, especially when there's a search element to that application. So OpenSearch is really well positioned in this space with the ability to store embeddings for those AI use cases, as well as with the search functionality to use the latest and greatest technology to improve on search. And building search, specifically building the next generation of search, has never been more exciting with OpenSearch. So now that I've gotten my mention of generative AI out of the way, we can talk about the other use case of OpenSearch, which is analytics. So along the way, people started using search technologies to analyze logs. OpenSearch leverages that search functionality in order to summarize large volumes of logs, which enable real-time monitoring for observability. Additionally, log analytics, combined with some of the same tools we use for observability, also unlocks the emerging use case of security analytics, or helping to detect threats and prevent malicious activity. The project has continuously made significant improvements to the OpenSearch dashboard's experience, and especially over the last 12 months, something that's been near and dear to my heart and we'll talk about in a little bit. So let's talk through a sampling of the innovations in search and vector search that we've seen over the last 12 months. So a bit of background. Let's compare search results between lexical, traditional search, and semantic search. So the left side here I'm showing is lexical search, while the right is semantic vector search. First, we'll search for Air Jordan Retro, a strong keyword search. As you'll see with this query, both lexical and semantic return pretty good results. So let's try a more ambiguous search. We'll try sailboat shoes. lexical is showing you search results with the word sailboat or shoes in them. You'll see semantic search actually understands that sailboat shoes are a type of shoe. Hybrid search then combines both these two methods, leveraging the strengths of both to provide a unified relevance score, and has proven to provide better results than either method on their own. And while hybrid search has been supported by OpenSearch for some time now, and we are excited about the continued investment that OpenSearch has made to enhancing hybrid search. For example, the launch of reciprocal rank fusion, which delivers improved hybrid performance and latency with minimal impact to search quality. So there's no one vector database or configuration that delivers the highest performance and recall for the lowest cost. A good vector DB enables users to make trade-offs between these three characteristics. OpenSearch supports a variety of techniques plotted here, providing the tunability for customers to allow them to optimize to their own requirements and use case. So this chart looks like a bit of an eyesore at first, but if you look a little closer, the y-axis is latency, x-axis is recall or search quality, and then the size of the point represents cost. So something I'm particularly excited about is the recent launch of disk-optimized vector search, which was delivered in late 2024. This allows vector search to run on disk mode, lowering the cost by up to 2/3, down to 1/3 of the cost, while retaining high accuracy. Disk mode uses binary quantization, compressing the vectors and thereby reducing the memory requirements, paired with full embeddings stored on disks. So then the full embeddings are intelligently sampled during search to make up for the accuracy loss from the compression. The combination provides large memory savings at the cost of slightly increased search latency while still maintaining strong recall. Then we have OpenSearch Flow, the new low-code experience which users can leverage to build AI-driven search workflows in OpenSearch dashboards. So this enables faster and easier development and a lower barrier to entry for complex AI search applications in OpenSearch. There's also been plenty of performance improvements related to both search and vector search, including range aggregation optimization, resulting in more than 100 times better performance for simple range aggregations. The AVX512 SIMD integration for the FICE engine realized gains of up to 51% in vector search performance without adding processors. Parallel ingestion processing lets you process data at the time of ingestion in order to improve performance. And this is particularly useful in applications like neural search, which requires ingested documents to be embedded in a vector space by a machine learning service. I'd like to invite someone to the stage who's no stranger to search technology, proficient with OpenSearch, and such a valuable partner, Eric Pugh from Open Source Connections. Open Source Connections is a premier search and AI consulting firm that works across multiple verticals. They've partnered with us to expand on the search capabilities in OpenSearch. OSC helps organizations like Moody's Analytics to migrate to the OpenSearch platform and was critical in building their Research Assistant RAG solution. Here to talk more about what they've been working on in OpenSearch, please welcome Eric to the stage.
Wow, thank you, Dagney. That's a great introduction. I really appreciate that. So, yeah, I am super excited here to get to talk about what I'm passionate about in the OpenSearch project, right? We know that OpenSearch is huge. I mean, 5 ginormous domains that it covers. And I'm excited to talk about the domain that I am passionate about, that of search. So I'm going to talk about 2 accepted truths from search that are actually not truths. They're ideas that aren't quite realized, but how we've changed that with OpenSearch. So first is the idea that search is a conversation, right? We are talking to the search experience. We're exploring the data space. We are finding the answer that we're looking for, right? This is what we think we are doing when we're working with our search engines. But unfortunately, the reality is a lot more like this, right? We are like, why do you not understand what I'm looking for? Let me give you an example. Last week, I was preparing to come to see all of you, right? And I'm excited, first time in Amsterdam since I was like 10 years old. So I look up on Google, what is Amsterdam known for, right? And I get this wonderful little summary back, right? Intricate canal systems, artistic heritage, liberal atmosphere, right? Okay, this looks great. It's exciting. I want to explore Amsterdam. Where can I rent a bike? And this is what Google gives me back. That is not Amsterdam. That is a small landlocked town in the United States, Charlottesville, Virginia, where I live. Why are you giving me this back? And also, why do you know where I live? Did I tell you where I live? I'm a little freaked out. I'm now smashing my keys. I have to go back and reformulate my query. Where can I rent a bike in Amsterdam? And now I get back okay results. They're not amazing. I mean, a map is good, random 3 hits, no real context. I'm not having a conversation. I'm just shouting at my search engine. This isn't great, right? But this problem, this search as a conversation idea is something that we actually can do, right? And we all know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say LLMs and retrieval augmented generation, right? Building these types of applications lets me ask a question. What is Amsterdam known for? Here I'm getting some information. My follow-on query, where can I rent a bike? Here are a couple of great options with a little bit of context. I've heard of Central Station, Mac Bike, multiple locations. That looks great. I'm answering my question. And so the ability of OpenSearch now to build these conversational experiences using LLMs, using the idea of structure, solves this problem. And now we actually can finally bring to reality that search is a conversation. Here's another statement that we talk a lot about. Search is all about semantics. There's my son Asher and me. We started getting into bike riding a couple of years ago. Obviously, we needed to learn some things like what's a good helmet to wear? How do I fix my bike? What do I need to wear? Who do I call when I break my bike, even worse, attempting to fix it and have to buy a new bike, right? These are all great questions, and you can see, right, they're perfect for someone learning about bikes. Well, this next picture is someone else who was on a journey, but their concept of a bike is very different. There's my colleague, Scott Stoltz, with his brand new motorbike, and he went through the exact same set of questions that I did as he got into biking, right? So we know that semantics are very contextual. But until now, it's been very difficult for our search engines, for tools like OpenSearch, underlying Lucene library, to understand them. And yet now this is, if not a solved problem, very much on the path to being solved. You all have seen this diagram of vectors, right? This powerful new data store that lets us understand that a bike, motorized, is not in the same space as a bike, as a bicycle, a shortcut for the word bicycle. These are very, very different concepts. And so vectors allow us to understand vocabulary in context. And I'm excited that we're moving beyond just vectors for text, and we're thinking about vectors for other things, like my preferences, right? I'm into bikes, bicycles. Scott's into bikes, motorbikes. Search for what I mean, not what I'm saying. And vectors have been so key to this. Yay, right? So the introduction of support for conversations, semantics into OpenSearch has been amazing, but they're not magic bullets. There's a downside to this, and I'm going to share a little bit about this. So this is the classic 10 results that we've had for years, plotted on a line graph from remarkably right results, where you're like, yes, the search engine understands what I'm looking for, to truly terrible. These are the results that are like reputation ending. You are giving me answers that are wrong and that people can die, or you're sent on a date with a toxic person, or recommended for the wrong types of jobs, or buying the wrong products, whatever, right? There's a distribution of them. But until now, honestly, most of the results were in a meh middle right there. The results kind of clustered there. If they weren't particularly good, you understood why there were some weird results. And they struggled to be really intuitive in understanding what you're looking for. We were in that middle. With these new capabilities that OpenSearch has, we're seeing that search results are now, hey, we can build those experiences that are really answering our users' problems. Yes, the system understands me. But it's also leading to more polarization, where now we have results that I would consider more at that truly terrible. Why did that come back? That makes no sense. You don't understand what I'm looking for. Let me give you a more concrete example of that. I love this article from 2023. It was a search team in New Zealand for a supermarket company. They did online shopping. They knew what you had purchased, and they said, hey, let's make a little AI, a RAG solution that recommends recipes, that generates recipes for you out of what you have in your cupboards. And unfortunately, these were some of the recipes it came up with. A light odorless cocktail that was the recipe for chlorine gas, poison bread sandwiches, and I love this recipe of mosquito repellent-based roast potatoes, right? I'm really curious who actually sat there with mosquito repellent, put that on their roast potatoes. But this is an example of potentially truly terrible results, right? This lost the trust of the users, got them into the newspaper in a way that they did not want to be. This is not good. Fortunately, I do have some good news. OpenSearch is uniquely positioned among all open source-based search engines to prevent these truly terrible results from happening. And I'm going to walk you through how that's happening. So at the heart of it, we, in 3.1, are going to have a search relevance workbench, a home for measuring search quality, understanding what is the distribution of truly terrible at one end and remarkably right results. How are we going to understand that? We're now able to collect user queries. What did the user type in? What was their intent? What were they looking for? We're capturing that data so that we can understand what do you mean, not what you typed in. And we understand that, we build that context. We understand what people are looking for because we're tracking clicks. We can now understand, yes, that person is really happy. When they typed in helmet reviews, they got what they were looking for. Or, oh, that's interesting. We are serving up content that appears to have nothing to do with them. We're giving them that information. We can understand where we are on that continuum of search quality. But that's not enough, because we need to be able to improve things. And I'm really excited about the hybrid optimizer work that we've contributed to. Dagney highlighted a little bit about hybrid, right? Rank reciprocal fusion. But we have to figure out how much lexical, how much keyword do we need? What we have here with the hybrid optimizer is the ability to understand from your user's behavior today, next week, next month, next year, what is the right balance between lexical and keyword? And it's evolving in real time without you needing to do a whole project around that. You just run the optimizer, coming in 3.1. Now that we're starting to blend these more complex data structures together, we also really have to spend more time understanding, right? What is our query performance? What does that impact? So tools like Query Insights let us look inside the query processing and understand what the cost is of some of these new features, or how do we need to optimize. Putting all these things together is complex, and we have to simplify it, right? We have to make it easier for people to build these rich interfaces, the Flow AI Builder, these types of tools, make it simpler for us to build these kinds of things together. And even, right, looking to the future, we have to make it easier to understand Are these new experiences helping our users? What is the impact on? And we can't take 6 weeks to try every new idea. So coming in a future version, coming soon, A/B testing, interleaving, right there, built inside of OpenSearch, using all the information that we know about you. If we can combine conversation, semantics, and evaluation all together, then that's going to let us push more and more of our search results, our experiences, over to that remarkably right side of the equation. So that's all good news, right? Technically, we have an amazing solution. OpenSearch in the 3x line is going to be a much better place for building really rich, immersive search experiences. That is all fantastic. Problem solved, right? No, it's not enough. So we have a people problem, right? And it is that OpenSearch needs to do a better job of embracing our data science colleagues. We have data science on one side, search engineers on another side, and it's difficult to bring them together. And so I'm making a statement that Python is the language of data science, and that we need to build a bridge to our data science colleagues by adopting more Python. And there are some ideas in that path, right? And I'm really excited. I want to highlight 2 of them. One is this idea of maybe we could use Python instead of Painless in our scripting services. Our data scientists already know Python. They're probably the ones that we're tapping to do the complex logic and calculations that you might use Painless for. So I'm really excited about this RFC. Even more ambitious, Jupyter Notebooks, right? Data scientists want a data science, and that's how they do it, through notebooks. What if we actually had Jupyter Notebooks as a core part of our OpenSearch dashboards, that environment? That would be the most welcoming area for our data science colleagues. So I'm challenging you to think about how we could make this happen in the 3x line, right? These are some great ideas. Join the conversation on both of those RFCs and encourage your data science colleagues to chime in and come to events just like this. So that's what I wanted to talk about, is, if we bring these new technical capabilities that solve some long-held problems in search, conversation, and semantics, and if we could really get our data science and search teams working together closely, we have the infrastructure, the plumbing, out of the box with OpenSearch to drive these really next generation experiences, then we should be able to have those truly remarkable search experiences. So that's what I wanted to say about search. I'm super excited about what we're rolling out in the next major line. I want you to come join me. But since we are talking a lot over the next 2 days about generative search, right? Thank you, Dagney. We're also probably talking more about agents and what does that mean, right? And so I'm going to leave you with 3 thoughts about what if we're building search not for humans, but for agents. What does that change? And so my 3 things I want to seed the conversation with is maybe agents are more patient than we are, and they're willing to read more results. Maybe we can skip. Maybe it's less important to get the perfect 10 search results. Agents are more patient than us human beings. What if it's okay to have a 5-second query or a 10-second query? How does that change things? Maybe that's okay. What would you do if you had more latency, more time to run a query? What would you do to take advantage of that time? And then lastly, we have always sort of thought of the query as a text string, right? It's something that smashing into the keyboard, bike rental Amsterdam. But what if robots are making queries? Maybe there's other data structures that we should be thinking about. So vectors potentially as the query language. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dagney.
Thanks so much, Eric, and I'm looking forward to our continuing partnership. So let's switch gears for a moment to talk about some significant advancements in the observability category. This is all about the tools used to monitor, detect, diagnose, and remedy performance and availability issues. Things like anomaly detection, which uses machine learning to automatically detect anomalies in your OpenSearch data. Some of the major anomaly detection enhancements in the past year included support for remote and multiple data sources and enabling fine-tuning to identify alerts and alert on spikes and dips. Another exciting feature which we launched in 2024 was Query Insights, which can be used to monitor and analyze search queries within your OpenSearch cluster. Key use cases include identifying top queries by latency or resource consumption within specific timeframes and debugging slow search queries or latency spikes. This year, we launched the Query Insights dashboards that you see on the screen, which gives you a visual interface to more easily analyze and interact with these insights. We've also had a slew of usability improvements on OpenSearch dashboards that I mentioned earlier to allow users to spend less time managing their environment and more time actually focused on getting the insights from their data. Users told us that as they scale, they have an increasing number of teams using OpenSearch dashboards and sharing dashboards deployments. They wanted a straightforward way to onboard new teams into dedicated spaces where they can collaborate without impacting each other. To solve this challenge, we introduced workspaces, which allows you to create isolated views for collections of dashboards, saved queries, and other objects. Workspaces also provides tailored use case specific experiences across our key use cases, as you can see here. On top of that, historically, OpenSearch dashboards allowed for operational analysis of a single OpenSearch data source, meaning folks were managing multiple endpoints in order to be able to see all their data. Support for multiple data sources was launched in 2024 to allow users to analyze their operational data all from one OpenSearch dashboard. And finally, we made significant improvements within the Discover data exploration tool, including added support for SQL and PPL, in addition to DQL and Lucene. The past year has seen several improvements to OpenSearch Data Prepper as well. So notably, we've strengthened the search use case for Data Prepper by providing support for all types of databases, both SQL and NoSQL, and SaaS endpoints like Jira and Confluence. This allows you to build search on your source of truth, while previously this involved a lot of work to keep these two in sync. Finally, our commitment to performance in OpenSearch remains unwavering. So as shown here, version 2.17 overall query performance showed a 6 times better performance than OpenSearch 1.3. Things like text search queries, fundamental to many OpenSearch use cases, are 63% faster in 2.17. Terms aggregations, critical for log analytics, showed an 81% improvement. Date histograms improved by 97%. Performance for range queries improved by 87%. And OpenSearch 2.17 delivers faster sorting with a 59% improvement. Timing being everything, I'd be remiss not to mention the upcoming release of OpenSearch 3.0. So continuing on that trend I just mentioned about performance, you're going to see another big leap in performance in 3.0. The beta release has confirmed performance improvements of 20% on aggregate across high-impact operations. And compared to OpenSearch 1.3, OpenSearch 3.0 is testing more than 9.5 times faster across key query types. And there's also great news for vector-powered applications with the introduction of GPU-accelerated vector search. Users will have the option to deploy GPUs for significant performance gains for data-intensive workloads like vector search and generative AI, and achieve up to a 9.3 times faster index builds and 2 times higher throughput while reducing costs more than 3 times. One of the biggest evolutions comes with how OpenSearch ingests, transports, and manages data in 3.0. There are dozens of new features that contribute to this, so I'll give you 3 examples. One is the introduction of gRPC. This is an open source framework for remote procedure calls, and it brings a new approach to data transport between clients, servers, node-to-node communications for OpenSearch. With support for the protobuf cross-platform data format, gRPC will realize faster and more efficient data transport and data processing for OpenSearch deployments. Also, new in OpenSearch 3.0 is pull-based ingestion. This gives OpenSearch more control over the flow of data and when it's retrieved. In real terms, that means you can decouple the sources of data, the applications who generate index operations, from the consumers of the data, like the OpenSearch server. Another significant architecture change in 3.0 is reader and writer separation. Now, you'll be able to keep your indexing and your search workloads separate. This has significant implications for all kinds of workloads. So log analytics users who want to scale their indexing to millions of documents per second, or enterprises who want to configure 20+ replicas to support search traffic. All of this can now be done much more efficiently. And there's so much more to this release. So just to highlight a couple things, for vector search applications, 3.0 brings support for derived source for KNN vectors, lowering storage requirements to 1/3 of previous requirements. For search, star tree indexes and support for range aggregations and bucket terms to accelerate your aggregation workloads. And for observability, support for Apache Calcite as a new query engine enables greater flexibility and performance for our SQL and PPL queries. So we have a number of ways that you can plug in and stay up to date on the project. GitHub is a great starting point, as is our website on opensearch.org, and our blog on the website, which has multiple new posts per week, so make sure you're checking back often, or our forum or Slack channels, which you can get involved in as well. So with that, we've got 2 days of packed conference activity with sessions across a wide variety of topics. And we also have the unconference scheduled again this year. So if you weren't able to secure an official speaking slot, that's a great opportunity to be able to speak. And then, of course, fun evening activities I mentioned earlier. Looking forward to seeing you all there. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody in the community for showing up again, and have a great time at the conference.